next theory, that is differential association theory. Now, the earlier two theories was about social structure, how the structural process in a society or how a social structure leads to crime. Next, we are moving on to how social process leads to crime. So in this, there are two theories that we would be looking into. First is the differential association theory, and the second is labeling theory. Now, Edwin H. Sutherland was the one who propagated this theory of differential association. According to him, adolescents or other individuals, they basically learn to commit crime, or they think that it is acceptable to commit crime because of their interactions with their close friends. Say if they belong to a group who commit crime for their day-to-day basis, there are a lot of chances that that particular person would learn the same behavior from them. So basically, crime and delinquency is a result from a very normal social process, basically interaction. That is what we have been taught from the childhood also. How do we learn most of the rules and regulations or normally acceptable behavior? That is how that is by mingling with our family, or by mingling with our friends, or we learn from a lot of people through our interactions. So crime and delinquency is also learned through social interaction. There are 9 fundamental principles that helps us in explaining or understanding differential association theory. The fundamental principles are as such: criminal behavior is something that is learned. When you are born, you don't become a criminal. Rather, you learn that particular behavior by interacting with other people or by imitating other people. People learn criminal behavior by interacting with others. I've already mentioned that. People learn criminal behavior in intimate personal groups. Say if there are people who have very intimate personal groups, say 2 or 3 people, in which at least 2 people are committing crime on a day-to-day basis, you tend to learn that particular behavior from that intimate personal group. Learning criminal behavior includes the learning of the techniques of committing crime, as well as the motives, drives, rationalization, and attitude. It's not just that you become a drug addict, say if you get into a particular group which is deviant, but you would also learn the techniques of how you would commit crime. Let's take an example of drug here. Say it's not just about taking drugs, but rather you would also learn from where you would get drugs, how you should use the drugs, and say if you are shortage on drugs, what other supplements can be used as drugs. All of these things is something that you learn through social interaction. The motivation to commit crime comes from whether we view legal codes as favorable or unfavorable. Say if you belong to a group wherein they say that criminal justice system is very favorable to criminals, or we can find loopholes easily, there is a motivation to commit crime because you know that towards the end you wouldn't be punished because of the loopholes. But in opposite, if there are people who are trying to tell you that if you commit crime or if you do some deviant behavior, we would be punished in the worst of the ways, or punishment would be bad, the criminal justice system is that powerful, obviously the motivation to commit crime would reduce. Okay, I hope things are clear till now. The next is that a person becomes delinquent because of the excess of definitions favorable of breaking the law, or over definitions favorable of obeying laws. Okay, if there are lot of ways you can break law and yet not be punished, obviously a person becomes more delinquent, because they would take law as an easy go way, and they would say that obviously I'm not going to be punished, my court proceedings might take time, or finding evidence against me would take time. If they have that belief, and if they think that breaking law is favorable to them, there are chances that a person becomes more deviant. In differential association, it also states that People may vary in frequency, duration, priority, and intensity in committing crimes. When you socially interact with the criminal group, the frequency of how you commit crime or the duration you learn to commit crime, all of these keeps changing from year to year. The priority, the intensity, all of these would play a major role in motivating you to become a criminal or do an delinquent act. Learning criminal behavior involves all of the mechanisms that are involved in other types of learning. Earlier, in my previous videos, I've spoken about how learning theories play a major role. I've spoken about Bandura, Skinner, Pavlov, all of those theories, right? In a similar way, how you learn small little things, that's the same way you learn criminal behavior also. For example, if you have been taught in your childhood how you should walk, how you should dress, that towards the end turns out to be a personality, right? Similarly, if you mingle more with people who are deviant or who tend to commit crimes on a day-to-day basis, towards the end you would turn out to be a criminal, not necessarily law-abiding citizens. There might be exceptions, but in general, how you socially interact with others would determine in leading to how you would behave in the future, whether you would be a criminal or not. Finally, criminal behavior is not explained by general needs or values because non-criminal behavior is an expression of the same needs and values. Here, uh, according to differential association theory, they've not tried to explain that you do commit crime because of your general need or value, but probably because you want that acceptance from that particular group, you might tend to commit crime. The criticism of this theory is that the concepts are too vague and unspecific. Like as I had mentioned earlier, it is not necessary that every person who has connection with a criminal group would turn out to be a criminal. There might be exceptions, right? So the concepts are too vague and unspecific, and the theory does not explain why people who are not surrounded by criminal associations still commit crime. Say, for example, if I am a person who belongs to a group wherein everyone are very studious, everyone has a goal to achieve, we're following various methods to achieve our goals, which are all legitimate in ways, but somehow I might end up committing crime. But how is that how is me committing crime helpful in explaining my social interaction with that particular group? No, right? So that's one of the major criticism of this particular theory. The next social process theory is labeling theory. This is a small simple theory wherein it assumes that labeling someone as a criminal or a deviant post an arrest or imprisonment certainly makes the person to continue committing that particular offense. Obviously, we have seen that anyone who has been convicted for a case or has gone to jail and has gotten back, obviously they're not going to be accepted into the society like how they were before, right? They might be not getting jobs, they might be not getting any relationships as such, there might be people who would avoid them, all of those things. So basically, labeling process is giving someone a negative self-image which reduces their potential for employment, and it makes it difficult to have friendship with law-abiding individuals. Uh, this is one concept, but however, research findings are not very unanimous, and several studies do not find that arrest and imprisonment increase future offending as the way labeling theory says. But this is also something that needs to be taken care of or thought about, uh, because labeling some people can turn out to be dangerous because there are chances that they would become recidivist criminals. That is also again because there is lack of opportunity for them. The last part is the social control theory. The first in social control theory would be rational choice theory. Okay, uh, wherein this particular theory as such was coined or propagated by Clark and Cornish in 1987. They assume that a decision to offend is taken by a reasoning individual. If a person commits crime, before committing that particular crime, they would look at the ways and uh, ways, pros and cons, or basically cost and benefit of that particular action. If I would gain a lot from committing a crime, then there are chances that I would be motivated to commit that crime. Okay, I would make a rational choice. If my benefits are more than me getting punished, obviously I will commit that particular crime. So if the perceived cost of committing the crime is overweighed by the overweighed by the benefit, people will be more likely to offend or commit crime. So basically, a potential offender as such would have four primary choices. First is whether or not to commit an offense or a crime. Second, whether or not to select a particular target. Third, how frequently to offend. And fourth, whether or not to desist from crime or stop committing crime. All of these basically depends upon the advantages and disadvantages, or the cost and benefits of crime. So according to this theory, a person would commit crime looking into the cost and benefit, and he would rationally choose it. He knows whether he's doing right or wrong. There is no other influence that happens upon him, but only the concept of benefit and the concept of punishment. Or only these two play a major role. And if the punishment is more than the benefit, obviously they would not commit crime. But if the benefit is more, there are chances that people would commit crime. I hope I could give you all a clear picture as to what are the causal factors of crime using sociological theories. As mentioned earlier, social structure, social process, and social control is what helped us in explaining or understanding the causal factors of crime. Thank you so much.